Today's video is sponsored by this fat chicken. He said he wanted a shout out, so I'm going to make him pay me for it. So, well done, Chim. You're today's sponsor. So thank you to the fat chicken. Today we're going to be talking about the best heroes to use when joining attacking rallies and when joining defensive garrisons, because understanding this properly is going to help you in so many different areas of the game, including SVS, foundry battles. It's going to help you win facilities and fortresses. Honestly, using the correct heroes when joining these fights can completely change the outcome of the fight itself. So let's start with calling rallies, and I've already covered most of this in my previous Bear Trap Part 2 video, which I'll leave a card for in the end screen. But the principles for Bear Trap and for joining rallies when attacking are pretty much exactly the same. A rally, especially in PvP fights when you're fighting against other players and other alliances, should always be started by one of your strongest players in the alliance. That's because every single troop that joins that rally is going to take on the stats of the rally leader. So you want your rally lead to be the player with the best chief gear, the best charms, the best hero gear, the best heroes, and very importantly, the highest rally capacity. Because at the end of the day, the more troops you get into that rally, the more chance it has of winning. Now, when it comes to the rally leader's heroes, most of the time you're going to want to use your 3 strongest heroes, whichever ones have the best gear, whichever one you've leveled up and have the highest base stats. That's going to give you the best chance of winning. However, it's not always the case of just using your 3 strongest. Because if one of your 3 strongest is more focused on defense, all of their expedition skills and their widget is defense focused, then you don't really want to use them for an attacking rally, and you want to replace them with somebody who's going to offer more attacking stats, more attack and more lethality. And we'll touch on the difference between attacking and defending, but as expected, when you're attacking, you do want higher attack and lethality stats, and when you're defending, you want higher defense and higher health. Now, joining rallies is where a lot of mistakes are made, and when you're a rally lead, it can be incredibly frustrating when you're trying to make sure the right heroes are joining and you're constantly getting sent the wrong ones. But when you're joining an attacking rally, whether it's for a facility, for a fortress, for a building in Foundry, you should always prioritize sending one hero as your first hero, and that is Jessie. Now, this is true in Gen 1, that she should be your primary joiner when joining attacking rallies, but it stays this case for the majority of the game. I'm in Gen 6 now, and Jessie is still the preferred joiner for attacking rallies. And that's because her first expedition skill increases the damage dealt by 25% for all troops. And again, when you are attacking a building, when you are trying to take a building, all you care about is attack and lethality. And when you join a rally, only the first expedition skill of the first hero that you send is used. So that's why she's so important to send in that first slot. If she's second or third, it's irrelevant. She's not being used. She has to be the first hero to have that skill used. Now, if Jessie isn't available, again, just very similar to Bear Trap, the next best option is going to be Jasser, because his skill is pretty much identical. And if Jasser isn't available, then your next best option is Seo-yoon. Her skill isn't identical, but it does give that 25% boost to troop attack, so she is incredibly important for attacking rallies. So Jessie should be your main hero that you're sending to join attacking rallies. If there are multiple rallies going on, if you're in something like Foundry and you're having to join multiple rallies, then Jessie should join the first, Jasser the second, and Seo-yoon the third. And I've got frustrated a lot in this game, particularly in the early game when people constantly send the wrong heroes, despite you explaining time and time again that the first expedition skill of the first hero is the only thing that's used. Because quite often I've seen people say, well, hold on, Molly's my best hero, so surely she would be the best joiner. If we go and look at her skill, it gives you a 40% chance of reducing all troops damage taken by 50%. If you are attacking, this is useless. We don't care. I mean, it's going to give a slight benefit, sure, but Jessie is going to give so much more of a benefit. So if you're sending Molly because she's your strongest hero, stop. It doesn't matter how strong Jessie is. All you care about is her expedition skill. And if you are sending Molly or Bahiti or anyone else, you are just making that rally weaker. You might think that you're trying to help by sending a stronger hero. All you're doing is bringing the damage down of that rally. If you are not sending Jessie, Jasser, Seo-yoon, or even Geronimo, you are negatively affecting that rally. And I mentioned about the rally leader and having them be the one with the strongest stats, the strongest gear. When you join a rally, all that is used, and I mean literally all that is used, is your expedition skill, that one expedition skill of your first hero, and your troop level. That's it. So even if Molly is slightly stronger and Jessie isn't particularly strong, as long as her expedition skill is a decent level, that's going to give a benefit. The level of Jessie, the actual attacking stats of Jessie do not matter. All that matters is that first expedition skill. Now, one more thing to touch on again that I spoke about in my Bear Trap series is how many of the joiners' first skills are triggered. And the answer is 4. So despite asking for everyone to make sure you're sending the right hero, it doesn't mean that all of those heroes are going to be used. It just means that the 4 that are selected are going to be selected from a bunch of correct heroes. So the 4 that are selected are always the 4 first highest skills. So it gets a little bit confusing, but effectively the first 4 people that join are the skills that are used. But if someone joins later with a slightly higher skill, that's going to be triggered. So if everyone joins with Jessie, but all of their skills are level 4, and then one person joins right at the end with Molly with a level 5 skill, the Molly will be chosen because it's the first with a level 5 skill. So it's effectively the first 4 level 5 skills. If none of them are level 5, then it'll be the first level 5 and the first level 4s joining. It's just whoever joins first with that highest skill. So yeah, all of the Jessies and all of the Jassers, Seo-yoons aren't all going to be triggered, but making sure that that rally is full of those heroes makes sure that whoever is triggered is giving the correct bonus. Now, defending is slightly more complicated than attacking, but it does follow a very similar principle. So this time you're not going to be sending a rally, you're going to be waiting for other people to attack you, and you're going to be garrisoned in a building, in a facility, or a fortress. But the principles are almost identical. But instead of focusing now on attack and lethality, we focus on defense and health. And this is where 2 Gen 1 heroes come in that stay relevant for a very, very, very long time. And the first one is Sergey. So if we take a look at Sergey's first expedition skill, when maxed, it reduces the damage taken by 20% for all troops. Again, when we're defending, we're going to be defending against people who have high attacking stats or are prioritizing attacking stats. So what we want to do is give ourselves the best chance possible to survive. So any chance to boost health and defense is incredibly important, and Sergey is such a good defensive hero for this. Again, I'm in Gen 6, and Sergey is still used as one of the defensive joiners. He is still incredibly important in this game, and will be for a hell of a long time. But the more popular and slightly more effective hero is Patrick. Now, Patrick's first expedition skill increases the health by 25% for all troops. Again, this is huge. When you're fighting against people that care about attack and lethality and they're sending their rallies with full Jessies and full attacking heroes, you want to give yourself the best chance possible to survive. Now, as I said, we're in Gen 6 and we're still using these heroes. You know, in State 2613, we have a number of very, very big spenders in this game, and they've got the best heroes possible. They've all spent a lot of money to level up their heroes to have the best team that they can have. But when these players are joining a garrison in SVS and they're not leading it, when they're not the strongest player, they send Patrick because they understand that Patrick is important. Yes, he's not a mythic hero. Yes, he's not got the best stats. Yes, he's not as strong as everyone else. But remember, when you join a rally or join a garrison, only the top expedition skill of your first hero is used. That hero offers nothing else. That is literally all they offer. So if you are early in the game, then focus on Patrick, get him leveled up as quickly as possible, get that skill to level 5, because you are going to benefit from that for a very, very, very long time. Now, if you're in something like Foundry and you're defending multiple buildings at once, you won't always have Patrick available, and that's where Sergey comes in. That's where Sergey becomes your next best option. And some people do prefer Sergey over Patrick, and I guess everyone has their different preferences. I will always say Patrick. I think Patrick is an absolute beast in this game. But if you are defending more than 2 buildings and you've already sent Patrick and Sergey out, then have a look at heroes like Molly and Bahiti that do offer chance-based defensive boosts. They're not great, but they'll be your best option after Patrick and Sergey. But when defending, these 2 are your main priority. So if you're just defending one building, if it's just a facility or a fortress, send Patrick first. If you don't have Patrick for whatever reason, then you can send Sergey. Do not send anyone else. Patrick or Sergey, end of discussion. However, I mentioned that it is slightly more complicated, and here's why, and this is going to be slightly difficult to explain properly. Unlike when you start a rally and you can clearly set who the rally leader is, because that's obviously what happens when you call a rally, but when you're defending in a garrison, you cannot choose who the leader is. Now, yes, you can assign a garrison captain, and a lot of people think, oh, that's the person that takes on the role of the rally leader. Not necessarily. So when you select a garrison chief, it guarantees that their rally capacity is used. So you want to make sure that whoever you select as the garrison chief has the highest capacity so that more people can join, but it doesn't automatically make them the leader of the rally or the leader of the defense. Because what happens instead is the game automatically chooses who the bonus source will be. And that is decided by who has the best stats. So again, very similar to a rally leader and who you want to choose as your main rally leaders. The person who gets selected will have the best stats, the best gear, the best heroes, the best hero gear. They are the person that is selected as the bonus source. But unfortunately, you cannot always know who your bonus source is until you have been attacked and you have that battle report. Now, it's usually fairly easy to work out who your bonus source will be. You'll likely have a player that's stronger than everyone else that has higher stats, and it's fairly easy to work out. Usually the person who has the best stats will also have the best rally capacity, so it may just work out that way anyway. Now, it's important for an R4 or an R5 to always keep an eye on who's in the garrison to make sure that whoever has the highest rally capacity is made the garrison captain. It may be somebody that missed the first rally or came online a bit later, so it's important to always make sure that that person is the captain so that more people can send more troops and give you the greater chance to defend and keep that building. But you do kind of have to make an informed assumption about who that bonus source is going to be. And this is where good coordination makes a huge difference, because if the bonus source ends up being someone who wasn't the original rally leader and it wasn't the person you selected as the garrison chief, then what they're going to need to do is recall their march and make sure they replace it with their 3 best heroes. And at the same time, the person who was the rally lead and currently has their best 3 heroes will want to recall their march and send Patrick as their first hero. And if the rally leader isn't that bonus source, then the first skill of their first hero will start being used instead of all the skills of all their heroes. And if their first hero is somebody who's attacking based, then you're missing out on having a Patrick give his health boost. So this is where the coordination comes in and the reaction comes in, because you have to have players really quickly react to a situation to make sure that they have the right heroes there to give you the best chance possible to survive against the upcoming attacks. Now, if you rally and successfully take a building, you need to react immediately. And I mean immediately. And this is where people in my alliance will be very familiar with me screaming, "Switch to Patrick. Switch to Patrick!" Because the fight doesn't end when you take the building. That isn't it. That's where the real fight starts, because that's when you have to start alternating between attack and defense. Because when you join that rally and that rally hits, that garrison is going to be full of Jessies. It's going to be full of a bunch of people who have Jessie as their first hero. And if you don't switch to Patrick before the next attack comes, then you've just got a bunch of Jessies there that aren't helping with defense or health at all. And you're probably just going to lose straight away. So all that hard work of taking that facility has now been lost. So it's so important to switch to Patrick as soon as possible. Switch to Patrick! And this is where a lot of players do make slight mistakes, which is understandable because it can be quite confusing and you do have to react quickly and it's a lot of pressure. But what people will often do is send Patrick as another march, but they don't recall their Jessie. So their Patrick arrives, can't get in because that player already is garrisoned there, and your Patrick just comes straight back home again. But what you don't want to do is immediately recall your Jessie. You don't want to immediately take it, recall Jessie straight away and then send Patrick, because you could just be leaving that garrison completely empty. If everyone did that, then the next person who's coming to attack will easily take it because you're not there to defend. A bunch of wrong heroes and troops is better than no heroes and no troops. So keep Jessie there until your Patrick is ready to arrive. So I'll just give a brief example of what I mean by this, just so I can show. So I've just teleported next to one of our facilities that no one's attacking right now, but I'll just use this as an example. So I'll go and garrison it with, let's just say I've joined a rally with Jessie, if I can find Jessie. So I'll just send Jessie to join. So now that my Jessie's in there, let's just say that was us taking the facility with the rally. So now I immediately want to replace with Patrick. So as soon as we take that building, I want to immediately garrison, dispatch more troops, and this time I want to send Patrick as the first hero. And what I ideally want to do to make sure that we have the most troops in there is not recall Jessie now. I don't want to have that garrison be empty if we've got an attack coming in. So ideally I want to wait right until my Patrick arrives and then recall. So I'm going to leave it right till the last minute. And I'm going to go, it's coming in 2 seconds. So now I'm going to recall. and now my Patrick is in. So that's ideally what you want to do every single time. Sometimes the R4s and the R5s will keep an eye on it, because if other players are arriving with Patrick and they're not already in the garrison, then you might be kicked, just to make sure that that Patrick can get in, because having Patrick's or Sergey's in the garrison is so much more important than having Jessie's. So if you are kicked, don't take it personally. It's not a punishment on you. It's not them saying you weren't good enough or you made a mistake. It's just so important to get Patrick's in there as soon as possible. So if we go and have a look at the garrison again. So obviously if I was the garrison chief here, it wouldn't be ideal. I don't want Patrick as one of my heroes when I'm the garrison lead, because all of the skills of all of my heroes are used. So ideally I'd want mythic heroes that have 3 skills and offer defensive boost of some kind. But clearly here I would be the strongest person and I would be the bonus source. So I would just press the 3 dots next to my name and appoint myself as the rally captain. And you can see at the top it currently says 153,000 troops, and it currently has a capacity of just over 1 million. Make myself the captain and the capacity goes up. So make sure when you are defending, you put your person with the highest capacity as your rally captain and keep an eye on who the bonus source is and react as quickly as you can. Now, the last couple of things to talk about are timings and ratios, because this is where it gets a bit meta and this is where you start needing to use certain tactics. But if you're trying to attack, and if you're calling rallies to attack a building, then try to time 2 or even 3 rallies to land at exactly the same time, or at least close to the same time. So if you do have multiple people calling rallies, have a look at their march time, have them check before they call their rally how long it's going to take for them to arrive, and try to time those rallies to hit simultaneously to give you the biggest chance of taking that building. And if you're defending against multiple rallies, then try to reinforce in between each attack. So if you have 2 rallies coming and one's going to hit in 1 minute and then another one's going to hit in 1 minute and 10 seconds, try and have your reinforcements arrive between those rallies, so that as soon as that second rally arrives, the garrison is already full again. So this is what I mean when I say when you take a building, it doesn't mean the fight is over, it's when the fight begins. You've got to really be on it. You've got to make sure that you're ready to reinforce every single time a rally hits, because if you have a rally hit that kills half of your troops and then another rally comes straight afterwards, it's an easy win for them. So if you can make sure you reinforce in between each rally, you're going to give yourself the best chance of winning. And when it comes to ratios, this is slightly different between attack and defense, and this does change throughout the game depending on which heroes you use. But typically an attacking ratio will be around 50, 20, 30. So 50% infantry, 20% lancers, and 30% marksmen. And again, defense will typically be what most people use is 60% infantry, 40% lancers, and 0% marksmen. The reason for this is marksmen are all about damage, so when you're attacking they are incredibly important. When you're defending they are much less important. Some people will still use them, and again, play around with this, try whatever works for you, but most people defend with a 60-40-0. If you found this helpful, then do drop a like and subscribe, and check out my other bear trap videos where I talk about ratios and I talk about how important certain heroes are when joining rallies, and hopefully that can help you in other areas of the game as well. So hopefully this video has been helpful, especially for those who are earlier in the game, but it is the same principle later in the game as well, so hopefully it is something that you are using effectively. Things are always changing in Whiteout Survival. You're always going to have new heroes introduced and new methods introduced, but your attacking and defending joining heroes always stay the same. So get your attacking and defensive heroes leveled up as soon as possible, and particularly get Jessie and Patrick's first expedition skill to level 5 as soon as you can, because this will honestly give you the best chance of surviving the whiteout. I'll see you real soon. Peace.